Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TB&J podcast. Across from me, Troy Brittingham.
I am the knight.
And off to my side, John Fitzwater. Hey, what's up, buddy?
Don't you fucking backtalk me like that.
What?
Jeez, right off the bat.
This is a bad start to the podcast. I feel under attack. And Dee's with us today. How you doing, buddy?
Hello.
And his wife, Mrs. D. How are you, lady?
I'm okay.
She's here under protest, against my wishes. She was not invited.
On National Women's Day.
On National Women's Day. She was not invited. She showed up, but she's here, so whatever.
National the Females Day.
Yeah, sure. And boom.
TB&J!
That's a really dark opening for... If this is your first episode...
Yeah, if this is your first episode, sorry.
You're ever the salesman, Jeffrey.
I certainly try.
Sorry, everybody.
We watched The Batman. Matt Reeves directed.
Not a Batman?
No, The Batman.
Not L Batman?
All right.
Not article-less Batman.
Starring Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz, among others. Directed by Matt Reeves. Troy, we're gonna start with our trademark thumbs up, thumbs down. Troy, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I will give a thumbs up.
John, you are specifically on this podcast because I know you hate Batman. You've hated him for years. It's been a point of contention in our relationship as friends. And yet, thumbs up, thumbs down.
3 out of 6 batarangs.
That is an interesting way to say nothing.
That's a thumbs up. D, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I don't believe that's a thumbs up. I need
That's
you
like
to
a
have a thumbs
mid-thumb.
up or thumbs down.
It's like a,
It's a that's the whole point. It's a yes or
It's
no.
it's a yes or no. No, there is
You
no
don't get a
side.
middle
It's,
ground.
it's an it's an internet thing. We specifically made it has to be good or bad
It has
because
to be
that's how
good.
the internet works.
Yeah, it has
There's
to.
no there's no nuance.
There is no
here.
nuance here. It's you have to weigh on one side or the other.
I'm sticking with the gray guys.
So you give it up the mic.
D, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'll use 2 now.
Two conflicting opinions.
It's a thumbs down.
It's a thumbs down from D.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's a thumbs down from your wife. You don't even need
Let
to.
her like, give her
Let her
a moment
talk.
to speak,
You're gonna
please.
mansplain my review. That's amazing.
You're here against my wishes, so yes.
It's there's so much anger.
It's
There's
a
no
thumbs
anger at all.
down, with caveats that it didn't look bad visually.
Visually, it was a very appealing movie. I think we can all agree on that, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, this was, without a doubt, in my mind. No, that's a lie. There are doubts in my mind. But this was probably my favorite Batman movie ever.
I can agree with.
It beat The Dark Knight narrowly, but it did beat The Dark Knight. I firmly believe the Nolan trilogy is good movies, but at its heart, they're bad Batman movies, if that makes sense. He does a good job making you feel like what you're watching is good, and the plot's fine and all, but they're not great at being Batman or any of Batman's villains. But this movie does a really good job bringing the comics to life. It really felt like I was reading a comic watching this movie. This movie begins with probably my favorite bit of the whole movie in that Batman's monologuing, and that's a big part of the comics. He's always monologuing. He's always journaling. You're getting that inside look into his head, and Robert Pattinson narrates all of that in this movie, and that was absolutely wonderful because that's something that's not very well translated from comic to movie, and something that they haven't actually really done in live action as far as I know. And seeing Robert Pattinson do that was good.
Interestingly, they've done that in Batman analogs, like Rorschach, for instance. Like
Right.
Rorschach and Watchmen, like they do
Yes.
a great Batman. Like there's a great like Batman that you're looking for there.
Yeah, and Rorschach does his monologuing and stuff like that. Is he a Batman analog?
He's not the
They're not
character and what he
dissimilar,
does.
but-
He does use like a grappling hook. Like he uses a lot of it's basically to say that he's just not rich. The whole play on it is that he's literally homeless. Like that's like it's the inversion of it. But he's like the uncompromising principal detective, right?
noir kind of character.
But like he doesn't have he obviously doesn't have a no kill rule. It's the complete opposite of that. So it's all like inverse. But yeah, but he was based on the question. But we're digressing.
That's a
too much.
different.
What question?
Yeah, that was the character's name. This is where I look at it, and you said one thing that I would just disagree with you on.
Sure.
Was when you said like that that he didn't make like good Batman move like they were good movies, but they weren't good Batman movies. And you said that this is a good Batman movie, and I was like, no, Christopher Nolan made a great Batman movies. This might be a good translation of a Batman story, or capturing the aura of the Batman stories from the comics, but I don't think it's a great movie by any standards because it doesn't feel like it said anything or did anything. It was a meandering plot in many ways that just kind of went on and was very aesthetic. It was basically like I could see like the images that like people wanted to see from the comics. I think a lot of this is like you want to see the greatest detective, right? You want to see him basically being Sherlock Holmes with the police, right? But like the issue is that like when you're translating this to the real world, and the big sin of this movie, I think, is them trying to evoke a very realistic take and gritty take, and then not being realistic in a manner that kind of explained its own being. Like I can watch Iron Man. And I can just be like, okay, so like, yeah, I understand the physics that like that'll never work. Like, I get that like he would just squash inside the suit. It doesn't matter how
he's deceased many times in that movie.
But like the same way I believe I watch a Fast and Furious movie. The internal logic,
all the physics,
all works.
You figure out that all the physics actually make sense.
They are consistently insane with all of the, like. So it's like fine, no, I get it. Like whatever, you've set the tone for the rules, and this is where this movie's citizens. It's like it wants to be this one thing, and it wants to have these gritty, realistic visuals, but not actually try to build the world that can sustain that. And it's very surface level, beautiful and great, but it has one female character in the entire movie. It is just floored with like more and more male characters just like chewing scenery and just stare. Like it doesn't say much at all in this story. Like it's just kind of like moments for Batman to be. Like it's very cool gadgets, cool car. But there's like after the 2-hour mark, it just becomes silly. Like Jim Gordon, one of the best performances I've ever seen. Like when I looked at him, I thought that's just Jim Gordon.
Jeffrey Wright did an amazing job as Jim
Gordon. But at the 2-hour mark, and his story was just doing nothing. He was just being that image of Jim Gordon, and I realized his character was just there. They were just, why do I even trust you? I don't know, Jim. You've just been bringing him to these things with no explanation, no kind of like, and people, and he's kind of fucking you throughout of it in a lot of ways. Like, it didn't make the lick of sense. It got comical when every time like the cops busted through the door, they literally sounded like the South Park, like rabble, 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 rabble. It was just like crowds of people. I was like, is that kind of playing as a joke? I couldn't tell. It was silly. It became silly.
I have to disagree with you a little bit in that the movie had nothing to say. The plot centered around Riddler hating the corruption around Gotham and how the biggest players in Gotham City, as far as the mayor, the commissioner, and the DA, had all gotten their positions based on the Maroney drug bust, which was a complete lie.
And here's the distinctive issue on this prop. This is supposed to be, and is clamored as like a detective, like showing a detective Batman. This is detective shit is bullshit. I'm introduced to characters on the fly. Information is given to me as it's delivered. Like there's no detective work at play. There's no foreshadowing. There's no explanation. They don't reveal that there are fucking seawalls in this thing until they explode. Like it makes no sense.
The seawalls were mentioned, I think, when with Thomas Wayne stuff in the beginning. I think they do. I think they did mention the sea.
You've seen it more recently than I, but also seawalls are just part of Gotham. That was just something I knew was part of the city.
Well,
So-
Well,
yeah, but you
good.
still have to
That's
set it up for a
in
movie
movies.
like
You have
that.
to tell the audience that.
Yeah, that you don't
you can't
ever
just be like,
assume
oh yeah,
the
we told
audience
them
knows.
that in
That's like
episode.
that's the comic book movies.
Which
won't
is
go
why
anymore,
I
would
thought
say.
that they need a scene where, like, I don't know what happened to this guy's like parents. Like, I think that maybe we need a scene that really went into like the heritage of this character a little bit more. 3 hours that you could have put in somewhere.
I need a couple pearls. On the
yeah,
ground.
yeah. I don't know. So that sounds like a metaphor for something, but I don't know what it means.
Maybe a bat flying at your face, like through a window.
Yeah.
So, just to sort of counteract,
go for it.
Yeah.
but not also. So the one thing I will say with the one thing I didn't agree with it being a comic book movie and kind of leans on your what like comic book movies for me are like Guns Akimbo or like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, where it's just fucking insanely over the top. That I'm like, that's what I
Those are
capture.
very different movies.
But they
But I
give
understand
the
what you mean.
atmosphere of like you're in a comic book. This is like a cool ass noir styled movie, and I guarantee there's an aesthetic to the Batman comics in it.
There
But
certainly
I
is.
didn't feel like comic book movie, and that also could be my interest in what comic books I read and don't read. But the other thing, and I will say, is like there are scenes in this movie, like the car chase scene, would be one of my favorite car chase scenes I've ever seen. It was something about utilizing the traffic is something you don't see often. I don't know. It was really fucking cool. The introduction of the Batmobile was like sort of really well done, very visually amazing. The fight choreography I thought was
100%.
really great. There's a lot of
About
it
the
might-
Batmobile scene, real quick. So there's a theory that I read on the Batman subreddit where throughout the beginning parts of the movie,
Which is basically canon.
yeah, sure. Throughout the beginning parts of the movie, you do see the Batmobile sitting in the cave, and there's engine parts scattered
Yeah.
around. So it's clear that Bruce is working on the car. And then when it's revealed and he goes to chase the Penguin, it kind of revs and then stops. Someone theorized that the car actually stalled because this is its first field test because he hasn't brought it out before. And he kind of fucked up and now he's got to re-put it into gear.
that's what I assumed.
Or it
happened.
could have just been like a fear tactic, like, oh, I'm not actually going to hit you. I'm going to give you a chance to get in your car, and then we're going to chase each other.
I gotcha.
Either way, it plays really well, and it was a nice little scene. I did enjoy it. And seeing an IMAX with you, the whole fucking theater shook around us as the car
The
revved up.
introduction of the car is dope. Like that's one of the coolest moments in the movie that really stands out. Of just like the loudness of it. But like this is where I was like, okay, that's cool. Like I'm digging this. Like and the car chase is good. I do also enjoy the traffic utilization. And I loved the busting through the fire and him thinking like that. Like the whole imagery is beautiful and all that, but
Slowly
the
approaching
fact
the
that
car.
I didn't need any explanation as to how he got through the fire. I just needed him to get through the fire. Like the fact that a ramp went down perfectly and showed me like this is how he gets the ramp and flies up. And then it took too long for the explosion to happen and for then him to come out of the ramp. Like the editing was weird where it was like, oh no, he should like they just showed me him go up the ramp and now you're seeing him react and be like, haha, I got you. And then he comes out of the, and I'm like, you just ruined the suspense. Like,
Yeah, I see
you're
what you're
gonna
saying
show
there.
me the ramp. Like, just don't even show me the ramp. Like, okay, it looked like he died, and then he busts out of it. Like, I don't care. He has springs in the bottom of the fucking thing that pop him open like hydraulics.
A go-go gadget vehicle.
You don't even need to explain it to me. He just comes out like the fucking Terminator. That's fucking awesome. It's hot, and
I
that
literally think Speed Racer
I
has that in
think
his
picks
car.
it. But that element like literally took me out of the entire moment. I thought it was a neat moment, interested in the traffic and how Penguin was kind of at the same time bumbling and yet kind of
Colin Farrell Penguin is great.
yeah.
Do you know
100%.
if there's going to be like more of him specifically?
There's
There's a whole
hope
show they're
that,
coming out with.
I hope. What do you mean?
They're making a spin-off on HBO.
Of Penguin?
Yeah.
I am amazed at how long this movie is and how little character development there is. Like there are so many characters. Yeah.
The female here. If you couldn't tell, my voice was a female.
Oh,
There
wow.
is-
All right, cool.
Okay, so I love Wes Anderson. Okay, I understand that is not for everyone, right? So Wes Anderson film has very little character development. Sometimes has a ton, but mostly it is just seeing the life in a week of a character or a specific moment of a character, and the flow is sort of like it's the visual appeal is there. It's an aesthetic, and he's getting you in the moment, whether it's a time frame moment like the 60s or India or whatever. It's to get you engulfed in the feeling of it, right? Mm-hmm. And which I thought this felt like a box office comic book movie that tried to Wes Anderson me. But it did, and I like Batman movies. This is the other thing, is that I enjoyed all of the Batman movies I'd seen. But I like the silliness of even George Clooney's one. I still sat through it. It's still funny. This movie felt like it was trying to be serious, trying to get me in the aesthetic of Gotham, trying to do this. And it just did. It took me out at moments that were like in a rough way, that like I was ready to go for the ride. I was ready to be in this. And in 3 hours, I just like Wes Anderson doesn't have the balls to do a 3-hour movie for a reason. I think that doing the same thing for 3 hours is ballsy. I
do have one question then. Would you watch a Wes Anderson Batman movie?
Yes, 1,000%.
Have you seen that parody of like a Wes Anderson X-Men? It's so
I know of it. I
so
haven't
good.
seen it, yeah.
It's so good.
I have seen that.
It's so good. It's like all the yellow and blue spandex. It's just like all like goofy and like them it's like it's Royal Tenenbaums. It's perfect. It's so funny. 100% I would watch the Batman version of that. Yeah.
As a man who, after looking at Wes Anderson's filmography, I've seen none of these.
Fantastic Mr. Fox is the biggest one.
A true cinephile you are.
Yeah, totally. But like I'm wondering if that's one of the reasons why you and I might have differing opinions, because I don't have the history that you do with these types of movies.
Yeah, I mean, we are gonna have to now sit down and watch at least 2. Like just to give you a good idea. Like
I remember when Isle of Dogs came out, I wanted to watch it, and I just didn't.
There's a
reason.
very distinctive difference in what they're doing. Like they're both aesthetic, right? But like this movie is noir aesthetic. It's mostly darkness.
Yeah, they're not actually really comparable, except for the one point.
Yeah, there's stark images of black and red and imagery, and and Wes Anderson is literally like a multitude of ADHD like things and happening going on in any given scene. There's like a billion. These sets designs are incredibly intricate and
they certainly
nuanced.
are.
And I'm just saying that the settings are vastly different. They're nuanced. They're like there's intricate pieces to each.
I'm talking the point of a movie. So the point of a movie being that you feel like you're in Gotham. It's more realistic to what Gotham would be in the comic books, and that it is entrenching you in the world of Gotham. More than the story. More than the story itself. And that's what
I felt like I was in Gotham.
That's exactly it. And that's why I compared it to a Wes Anderson film, because Wes Anderson's whole point is to engulf you into a time period or a situation, so much so that trumps the actual storyline.
Okay.
And I think this movie does the same thing. It is visually heavy. It is like music playing the biggest, the second biggest thing being the music. The third biggest thing in this is the acting, probably. It's visual, music, and then acting, in my opinion, for this movie.
That's fine.
And that's very much like Wes Anderson films, where you have 1 or 2 really well acted scenes, but the rest of it is day-to-day happenings, so that you understand the whole scene around you.
Yeah, this movie certainly, as far as Batman movies go, did the best job, in my opinion, at making me feel like I was in Gotham. And because I know that the two of you, being D and his wife over here, you guys had complaints with how it was raining almost every day. And the movie takes place over about 6 days, and you specifically got very mad at me. You were like, "It rained every fucking day." Yes, in Gotham, it's always dark. It's always raining.
It's fine.
It's like the London of the DC universe.
It was fine. It was fine.
Hold on? What's the Crow quote? It's more like surfing
can't rain
and
all the
skateboarding.
time.
And then it's like, can't it rain all the time? Yeah, that's it.
No, I was gonna say no. If you watch The Crow, it's always fucking raining, and it's always and it's a great aesthetic. But they had it was better character development in that movie. I would argue The Crow I've seen of late, and it still has a better internal logic, like to what it's doing. Because like they lost me they literally lost me. They had me up until the bomb explodes, and then it's like a cascade of nonsense. The bomb explodes. He first of all goes up to it. It's going off.
The DA had a collar bomb that went off while Batman was holding the DA basically by his lapels, and I've seen it argued online that it's a collar bomb, so it's directed inwards towards the DA, but it's still a C4 explosive. Something went off in Batman's face, and it didn't seem to faze him.
It doesn't seem to faze him when he has his entire bottom half. Like, that's exactly where he's vulnerable, right? So, fine. So he's knocked out from this, which is already another pet peeve that I'm having from any show that's going to call itself realistic.
Oh, I didn't even think about
where
that when I was watching
out,
it. He gets knocked out like 3 times.
Not to an ambulance. His cow's not taken up. Like nothing.
The cow not taking off.
He's taken
is
to an
like
interrogation room at the police
peeve.
department. If I'm not mistaken, he's taken to the interrogation room, a small interrogation room in the police department, where every cop is around him,
and no one takes
and
the
no
mask
one
off.
like. It gets to the degree of like, this is nonsense, and this is where when they start chasing him, they're like, rah, 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 rah. That's what it sounds like them, and I'm like, there was like. I'm still reeling from the fact that he didn't die from the from the C4 explosion. Then he's woken up here, and I'm like, oh, okay. So then they're not taking the cow off. Then the rabble. I'm like, this is what just happened?
And
This
the parachute
got
bridge?
ridiculous.
That was actually awesome.
It was kind of neat. I like the idea.
It was good.
I loved his gadgets in this movie. I liked his gadgets.
The gadgets are actually amazing in this movie.
The gadgets are amazing in this movie, and the most important part that I very much disagreed with Nolan's trilogy is that the majority of Batman's gadgets and tricks are made himself in-house. And it seems like the Batmobile was built by him. We didn't see anyone else down there with him except for Alfred, and I don't think Andy Serkis with his cane was doing much work on that car. I think that was all Bruce. And I'm pretty damn sure everything on his belt was all him. And that's a big part of Batman in the comics.
But that is a big part of Batman. Like, you're saying that like Lucius Fox is distinctly a character in the
he
comics.
is, and that he definitely helps Batman later on. But a lot of the like year one stuff is Batman.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a distinction where you're just like, okay, so that's like a distinctive version of Batman that you think is cool, that you want to see depicted on film, right? And that is like not something that I would hang a movie on, like those. And I feel like most of what this movie hangs on is just like, okay, what did you want to see that you haven't seen in the Batman movie, which needs to happen, right? We've seen the pearls, we've seen the
one of my favorite things about this movie is that they were like
exactly. That's why Marvel didn't do it.
And I have some of the same complaints you do with some of the detective stuff in practice, but the idea of them being like, hey, let's make a Batman movie where it's all him solving crimes and doing a like detective job, which is like, he's always been the world's greatest detective, but in every movie he's in, he just kind of like punches a dude until he gives him answers, and it's just like, there wasn't a whole lot of detectiving there. He just kind of punched the guy until he said, yeah.
Yeah.
And the gadgets lend a lot to it because they are there. He has gadgets that aren't too crazy high tech for me to be like, now he's Superman. And then he doesn't have things that are too low tech where it's just like, I could make this.
Right. Everything like seems very plausible for Batman, and especially like the suit being bulletproof, but the cowl not. And like it's very clearly like certain parts of it, and a lot of the design of him is very reminiscent of early Batman stuff from Year One and New 52 Zero Year.
The only thing that I had an issue with the bulletproof stuff, and I'm not a huge fan of bulletproof Batman in general. But
it seemed like mostly just the torso armor was, because the legs were pretty much just combat pants with knee pads.
I think that they could have done a little bit of a better job showing where he was vulnerable and everything, because the end is essentially one big gunfight, and
there was a lot of stormtrooper aiming going on in that Madison Square Garden arena.
But I also went in. Well, they were all like Twitch viewers or whatever. But
yeah, they weren't sharpshooters, but still.
They have sort of a big gunfight at the end, and he gets shot a lot in that. And it's sort of like, well, this is like the dramatic part of the movie, but I have seen him get shot 900 times in this movie.
Yes, but you didn't get him get shot point blank with a double barrel shot.
And not in the chin.
Oh my God, the chin.
Well, that's a problem with every Batman.
Yeah, I do feel like filling out the bottom of the mask is literally silly at this point. Like, I want a weak chin Batman. I want like... What I'm trying to think of a weak chin like person.
Certainly not Bruce Campbell.
Jim Norton as Batman.
Jim
though.
Norton.
I'd actually really watch that. But I think as far as the ending goes, the thing I like the most about it that I've taken away from it is the allusion to like the Trumpster alt-right.
Yes.
I talk about timeliness. Like they wrote it in, they went with it.
Yeah.
And the Facebook, deep dark internet.
There was like some
stuff,
dark web stuff.
dark web internet. Like that's all believable. That's where they got. I was going back around. I was like, absolutely, would a guy like this, a vigilante? Would these guys go out with a vigilante? Absolutely. That was the most realistic part of the whole movie.
Yeah.
That alt-right people.
And the best part was Riddler firmly believed he wasn't the bad guy. He believed he was a good guy helping Batman.
The imagery to what we've lived through the last 5 years is there. I love it. I absolutely loved that part.
6 years, but who's counting?
Well, I mean, like none of you thought he would win, and I did. So I lived that 6th year.
I thought he would win.
Yeah, I told everyone 2015. This is a real fucking problem. Like this guy will mow over everyone. And I like Paul Dano. By the way, I did want to say like I like Paul Dano.
Great Riddler.
I liked Zoe's acting. I do not think she was written well, and it was a bit offensive. But okay.
I do sort of have one critique, and it's probably my most major critique of the movie with Riddler, is I like every scene that he's in. I like the whole take on him. I felt like they were leaning a little bit into, like, they kind of, like, autism coded him a little bit, and a person I was watching it with also was kind of like
yeah, he was
seemed
100%.
a little I don't know, it was done in a way that I think rubbed me weird was all.
I mean, I don't know how you're gonna not evoke
from the
certain
Riddler,
ticks.
sure.
I mean, from Batman's rogues gallery in general, like all of them have
makes
certain
sense to have like
Yes.
OCD or extreme like repetitive. So like that's not.
I just felt like there was a way to do it, and it wasn't a huge.
You know what they're not doing? They're not being like, well, like the transvest. Like they're not like clearly marking
Right.
it as like
and they
Silence
didn't
of the
outright
Lambs.
say he's
No,
autistic.
it's-
And they're
It's
not,
not-
saying what is the other one? Not in the Da Vinci Code. What is he like a pigment? His pigment's gone. They're albino. Albino is the kill. Like it's like okay, why does he have to be albino?
Right.
Oh.
Like why? So like you're kind of like looking at so, but they're not like distinctly saying what he has.
No.
And he's leaning into like a little bit, and like I'm not sold on the idea that like to be like this is the you don't go full.
Yeah.
Like,
I know
I'm
what you mean.
you don't go full R word for the you don't ever do it, and that's what what's his name did in Of Mice and Men, where Of Mice and Men it's great because like he has a very non-existent kind of ailment, especially the way he's generally played by John Malkovich.
That was
So
John Malkovich.
There's
What was
spectrums, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, in sexuality and in mental, intellectual disabilities.
And I have no problem with that being the display. I just wanted to bring it up as sort
you
of
thought
a
he
thing.
leaned on it as opposed to actually acting it out, or you thought like it was an easy way for him to become
I don't know what
obsessive?
it was. I might need to.
Watch it again.
Yeah, but I just remember when it was first happening on screen. I just sort of like, this might be a thing in a few years that we look back.
Might
and
go back and be like, oh, that was a bit much.
I don't know though.
We didn't. They never said he was any certain way, and he certainly acts a little, crazy. But that's because he is.
Right.
And also, I said it earlier, but just to highlight it again, like all of Batman's rogues gallery, in any Batman
Batman's
game,
a whole thing is like everybody's kind of some untreated mental illness or
exactly.
Or
If you no villain is
deficiency.
ever not like
If you don't
some
think
sort of
Trump has a personality disorder,
I didn't say that.
Yeah,
I'm
mean,
not
like
saying that.
this is what I mean. Like this is how people become unchecked mental illness. Is how you get serial killers, how you get politicians, and how you get actors.
Gabby,
I mean, like, it's
Gabby,
like
please don't talk about the real president like that on our podcast, please. We are very big
we
fans
haven't,
here.
we haven't disputed that the election is still under count.
Yeah.
Speaking of, there was. This might be my favorite depiction of Batman that I've seen in live action because, and I can see you get mad, No? Okay, cool. I thought you were getting mad. Because Batman in the comics, in his inner monologue, one of the things he says over and over throughout different writers is that he always feels like he's on the edge. Shut up. We'll get to that too, because I enjoyed that. But he's always like on the edge of darkness, and Joker says it a few times across different storylines that Batman himself is one bad day from being just like Joker. Everyone's one bad day away from crazy, Batman especially, and if he crosses that line and kills people, he'll never come back because he's just that close to being totally fucking psychotic. And in this movie, he was pretty fucking psychotic. Batman, when he takes on the clowns in the beginning at the subway, he was beating them fucking senseless. And then at the end in the gunfight, one of the Riddler guys, he was pounding that guy's face in until Gordon had to like make him stop. Like, Batman is very clearly this close to being an unhinged maniac if he gets left unchecked. And seeing him be this violent kind of guy was really, really different, and I enjoyed it.
I would have got that more if Robert Pattinson could act.
I thought he did a good job.
If he could Kristen Stewart himself, that would be neat.
Yeah. So I am kind of on your side on this in a way.
Mine or hers?
On hers.
Fuck you.
So, and I want to point out, I like this movie. I'm on your team here. I'm trying to be fair in the middle.
He's
here.
the good cop.
Yes.
Good cop, batshit cop.
So
He's a bad cop.
There's sort of been this resurgence recently where people are like, wow, this guy's not actually like the Twilight guy. Like, he's pretty good in general. And like, he's been in a lot of stuff. And I haven't been that impressed by any of it.
No,
I didn't know if it was just me.
No. I've heard the same thing, and I feel like I'm not. I saw the movies. I'm not. I was rooting for him. I was like, yeah, sure, he looks good in the cowl. It looks just like Daredevil. He looked fine in the cowl. When he comes off that, he had that dumb haircut. He's not a good Bruce Wayne.
No,
and
he is a really bad.
So
Bruce Wayne.
He's kind of reminds me of, he's like the Crispin Glover Bruce Wayne.
That he's not supposed. So this is where I was trying to kind of like help.
That's the dad for Back
to the
Future.
Definitely year one Batman, and he's a fucking like angsty shithead who just lost his kids probably like 2 years ago or some shit. Like, he's still so young into it, and
His
that's
parents.
what I really whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah,
When I say kids,
he
I don't
lost his
fucking
kids.
know.
He
Fuck
lost his
Batman.
kids.
But
So he's fresh into the Batman suit.
Yeah.
They say in the beginning of the movie he's only been doing this for 2 years.
yeah, so then here's the only like the best parts of the movie that I
saw
think
Christian
overall.
Bale do it like day one.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like, first
dope.
off, his failures is one of my favorite parts of this whole movie. He kept fucking up, and it was awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I was so glad he didn't keep winning. Like, every time he thought he was winning, something worse would happen, and I love that because I was like, finally, you're having this fucker fail, and it's great. The other thing I liked about it is they kept talking shit on the Wayne family, and that's one of the reasons I hate Batman so much. Is he's this rich white kid. Nobody likes that, and they took that and they said, "Fuck him, he's a rich white kid." A lot in this movie, and I love that. And then.
And that is a big point of the plot of the entire Batman.
And
arc
when
as a
you
whole.
do that, and when they did that in this movie, and especially in that scene where they're trying to hint at that he knows that he's Bruce Wayne, and then it's a big, long-winded,
Psych out.
And you're watching it, and you sit there going like, Bruce Wayne, and he's like thinking he's caught, and I'm like, yeah. If that happens, you're just a guy in a rubber suit. Like, it's
a bulletproof suit.
But it's not like whatever. And I get it. But it's not cool anymore. If like Tony Stark can do it because they don't address it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it, but I don't feel like Batman can really go there and still be taken seriously. He's a guy in a black suit. Like, I'm not buying like the early Batman. Like, I get it. There's cool ways to depict it, but it's not here. And he looks like Crispin Glover Batman. Like, so as Batman, he looks very odd to me. He looks kind of scarecrowy, and it's fine. I'm cool with all of that. I liked how they depicted him walk and stuff. But like the only thing I wanted to say about his suit in general is that his cowl is awesome. I love how they do the neckline of that, and that's like distinctly one of like my favorite look of the Batsuit.
Yes, it's a very good looking
Can I be
suit.
vain for a second? If if he were the son of a millionaire or billionaire?
Billion.
Why would his teeth be so stupid? And this is an honest question. And this is a really honest question. He has
Coming at my man's teeth? What the fuck?
I can't say that I noticed. his
Literally,
teeth.
all of women is dissected at any second of the day. His teeth are stupid. He would have them capped. If it was 2022 or whatever year this was supposed to take place in, I don't know. Is it the 90s? What I don't know. What year is this supposed to
Modern
take place
day,
in?
because Thomas Wayne was running for mayor
In
before
10
getting murdered when in the early 2000s.
Okay, so it is keeping up with the time frame.
Yes.
Okay.
It's modern day.
This is easily answered.
I would
it's
also.
it's not easily answered because a rich kid's son would have had braces by 8. They just asked our kid to have braces at 8.
It's Batman. It's Batman, and he went to private school, and he does whatever he wants, and he's trained all over the world, and he didn't have time to do it because he was trained to be a killer, and he doesn't. Who the fuck cares? It's Alfred.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. No, I just explained it. I just explained it.
Took me out of it. He shot his teeth twice, and it was dumb. His teeth
It's
were
not the
dumb.
issue.
I'm
It's not the
acknowledge-
issue.
I hear
Making
you.
mountain out of
I
molehills.
acknowledge you.
This is not
I
the
think you're
insult.
crazy, and I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, okay, you do that. Here's
This is
this
so
is
unimportant.
no in the real honesty. So I loved Catwoman. I loved Selena. She was I love her nails. They're so fucking dope looking. Like
Sure.
I love that whole look and aesthetic to it. She looked great. I love the mask. I love the whole thing. That was all cool. They have the scene where, for one, I thought she kind of read as lesbian in a relationship with the girl early
she
on.
kept dressing
and
Annika as
then
baby.
she suddenly kind of gets infatuated with Batman, which I was like, wasn't sure if they were even going for that at that point. Oh, is he turning her? Like, I didn't know.
Or she
I
could
was
just be bi.
So what? Right? No, I was like, whatever.
No, it doesn't.
No,
It doesn't have to be a weird Sean Connery.
I'm
James
definitely
Bond.
fine with that too. I was, and but it was taking me off guard. And then she's like, they do this longing stare, and like everything in this movie, they linger on it too long, and it's just him looking stupid in a bed. He's like, it looks good, and like, I'm like, what? Like, what were they was trying to be achieved there? If it's just that, like, he's super motivated and he doesn't have time for this, it was really done badly. If that's it, I think that's all that was there.
I think some of the
They
stuff
really forced that love interest overall.
It felt a little forced, I'll admit,
Yeah.
but also the look at me thing, like that felt like an actual interaction Batman would have had in the comics, because that does happen where Selena or Barbara will have like trying to talk to him and be genuine, and he'll say something that sounds like he's listening, and then he'll write it off as, oh, I was just doing this other thing.
And I've seen it done in the show, in the cartoon. I've seen it done in the comics. I've seen it done.
It didn't feel out of place. It felt like Batman.
It felt like they were a beat off, and this is where it got silly. It was like, all right, you're staring too, like, it get weird. It got weird. It got out of the moment. They did it too long, and then it was like, looks good, and then I was like, wait, that was they just didn't sell it. And I want to get to this part because I gotta get to this thing. On the point of him being this billionaire, the main villain in the big speech of the villain literally says, "We're in this together. You inspired me, right? I'm here because of you." And then after he floods the city and like thousands of people die, I don't know. The city's ruined. It's all fucked up. And he's looking down from a helicopter and he's like, I have to think, I really did make a difference. Like, I died laughing. I lost it. I lost it. It was the most ridiculous thing to stack up at that point in the movie. I
But
was
so-
like, what just happened?
The only
I
way
really made a
that
difference.
line works
I
is
love
if they
it.
lean
It's this
into
billionaire saying, I did this.
Yeah.
And he's like, I really made a difference. He's looking on his ruined city. Just dead
he
people
didn't say I
piling.
made a difference. He says I'm making a difference. And
That's worse. That's worse.
First of all, stop blowing out my microphone, asshole. Second of all, it's not about the flooding waters or anything like that. It's about the mayor, because the mayor is standing up and doing the right thing, and more people are doing that. More people are standing up and doing the right thing. And it's not about vengeance. It's about, I have to be more than vengeance, because vengeance doesn't help anybody.
Okay.
An eye for an eye makes the world blind. He says, I can't just be vengeance anymore. I have to be something more. I have to be a hero. I have to be something that people can actually look up to instead of, because by being Vengeance, I inspired people like the Riddler. I need to be more than Vengeance, or this is going to keep happening.
So, but he's taking credit for the mayor, which is where
He's not taking credit for the mayor.
Yes, yes.
That's what. So
That's
what
how-
I
that's
guess
how it came
it's
off,
not
and this is-
yeah. The point is the line's poorly delivered and timed. It should be something similar, more towards like I want to make a difference, or I'm ready to make a difference, or I'm ready
to be
change.
like her, or
Yeah,
I'm ready
or
to be
something around the realms of like he's not just proclaiming he was a hero. When again, I like the fact that he failed, but he also failed a lot, and there was some damage taken. So, I mean, I'm also hearing this from a different perspective because I didn't really catch that line, mostly because I think I was just not over the movie, but it was a long movie, and I was really kind of hoping it would end like an hour beforehand. But I would say if that is exactly how the line's delivered, I remember the helicopter scene vaguely, but like he shouldn't be championing himself. He should be, if anything, the opposite. He should be like, okay, I need to change because I clearly did the vengeance thing.
I didn't get
again,
any
he failed a lot,
humility
and it was
or
awesome.
learning from that character. I didn't feel it. I didn't pick up on it. What you're inferring is something that you wish it happened. It was not. It was not spoken of. It did not act well. It did not come off, and that's where I would say you were deceived.
I don't think so.
I don't think it came off as that or sincere or anything like that. And I didn't see him break down. I didn't see him, other than talking to Alfred. That was the only scene in which there was feeling in what he said. Not in the kiss scene, not in any scene. There was no actual acting by Robert Pattinson.
I mean,
in 2 hours, 57 minutes.
54.
No. I'm saying I'm giving him 3 minutes with Alfred.
Okay.
That was acting. The rest of it was his mouth moving and good eye makeup. There is no there was no. Where was he acting? Where was he? Like, I'm very serious. Like, I did not infer the character development that you inferred watching the same movie. I did not feel any of that sincerity.
Okay. And that's fine, but I mean,
Is it because you read the comic and that's what he figured
I
out?
think it is.
God,
There's going to be bias. No shit. Like that's why.
No, but
It's not even just bias from the comic, because like I've been reading reviews ever since I saw it, and everyone that has read the comics agrees that this was a great movie. They love the monologue that at the end, and they thought that he did a great Batman, because Batman, you want this three-dimensional character from Batman, and you're not going to get it. Batman is very kind of two-dimensional. He goes from brooding to angry, and then once every 10 years he shows an emotion, and that's it. That's Batman.
Okay.
He kind of sucks as a character.
Okay.
Oh,
all right.
He
yes,
just
I win.
happens to be my favorite.
He's truly the worst member of the Bat family. Every Robin is better.
Yeah.
So-
This is why
And Batgirl.
there has to be another character that is developed in light of them. So a Robin,
In this, it could have been Jim Gordon.
Alfred is that it could have been Jim Gordon. It's not, because I know nothing about Jim Gordon.
That's kind of how he
except
did
that
with
he's
the Nolan.
taking on
Because
this.
Jim Gordon was a really
No.
well-developed character in the Nolan
Yes.
series.
Jim
Yeah.
Gordon is a well-developed character. Alfred is a way more developed character. He is much more the mentor throughout the course, even in the first movie. He also has the female interest. He has like many people to base that off of. He is like only talking to Catwoman in this movie. Everything else is it's just the Batman, and it's just like, and it's a lot of staring, and it's not a lot of like interaction, and these fucking riddles sucked. This nothing bothers me more than like and don't get me wrong, this is Sherlock Holmes, so I'll off the bat say that like detective stories in general, like if you do like an Agatha Christie, you do like the Murder on the Orient or stuff like that, like all those things, those are true mysteries where it's like you are given the details to figure out a mystery, and then it is you could figure it out before it's revealed, but then they hit you with it. Sherlock Holmes, what Batman detective stories are kind of based on, are not that at all. Like Sherlock just pulls shit out of his ass, like happens here, like in this case, because we're just like, so they did this, but like I couldn't understand their whole like just making random assumptions about like, oh well, must be a penguin then, the flying rat. They don't even like till later they go like, well, could be a bat. could be a raven,
Well-
could be the. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah. So like anything with wings, you're saying like it could be okay, and
Well, because it
these
was
are-
a rat. Because it was the person who ratted on the Maroney crime family.
I get it.
So they
I
were
get
looking
it.
for someone close to him.
I'm just saying, like they didn't. There was no exploration of those things like any. There's just no other consideration, and they were so basic of a riddle. If you're going to actually hinge things on a riddle, it should actually be clever. Like these were basic riddles, and I know you can make the argument that, like Riddler is a cheesy riddle maker. Like he's actually makes bad riddles, but like I don't know. Like I feel like, and maybe I'm looking at the Bruce Timm stories like better, but like I felt like he made better riddles in the Batman animated series. Like maybe it was just the first time I heard. Right. Like locomotive is a better riddle than he lies still. Like in the Batman, like do you guys remember this? Like if you're a true Bruce Timm fan, the first Riddler thing, he's like, first of all, figuring out his name, Enigma. He's an enigma. Like that's fine.
I always hated that.
I always
name.
loved it. Edward Nigma. So and then he says like, oh, crazy intent. Like don't go through that door. Like why? It's like crazy intent is a locomotive. Like they would do like, and it, he was in like a dream world. I forget what it is. But either way, like they would do things like that were more clever, original riddles. Like these were like, okay, and they were. I wouldn't have minded that if they treated them as such. They were treating them as like distinctive clues that they were basing this on. And then I'm like, where does this come out? Like there's a board. Like, oh, did we just need to see Batman with a big board? Like, is that? It felt so like you want this visual. Here's this visual. It was surface, and it felt like surface to me. And after a while, they stared a lot into that surface, and I was like, "It's just silly." Like I wanted to be cool. It's not.
I disagree.
Yeah.
And
I disagree real hard.
Yeah.
The funniest thing is, I think that I looked at most of this, thought a lot of it had some of that goof. I think that a lot of his sort of like narration monologue did sound kind of like edgy 13-year-old. And still, I was like, it's still kind of cool though. Like, I think I fall kind of in the middle of like it is goofy and weird, but I thought that like it is like the best. It might be the best fight choreography in a Batman movie ever. I don't want to compare it to the Nolan movies because they're not really the same, but it's impossible not to at some point.
Yeah.
But like if you look at like all the Nolan fight scenes, there's not a good Nolan fight scene in the Batman. Movies.
My problems with Nolan Batman was that the Batmobile never should have been a tank, and Batman was never a ninja. And he fought like a ninja and drove a tank. And those were my biggest fucking complaints
I
about the
kind of
entire
like
trilogy.
the Tumbler in a way.
The Tumbler is a fine vehicle in retrospect, but the Batmobile never should have been a tank. It was always a car. It was never a tank.
That's untrue. That the Dark Knight Returns one of the most epitomal like.
That wasn't a tank.
It is absolutely a tank. He has a tank in that in the Dark Knight Returns. He has like an absolute tank. The Dark Knight Returns. I'm talking about like the comic book series
time if you want.
by Frank Miller. All right, the Dark Knight Returns, like the top 100 times best novels of all time. One of the 2 comic books that are listed in there.
And also right at the edge of Frank Miller, right before we
Like, what am I looking at?
crazy.
That's not a tank?
I don't remember that.
Well, it's a huge part of a lot of the books.
It's fine.
I'm just saying, like, that's like a key. Absolutely. I was like, oh, they're going for that.
Well, that's another thing, though, with Batman being
It just
a
made sense
80-year-old character at this point. Because I heard people say stuff about Spider-Man Far From Home 2, or No Way Home 2, where there are people apparently arguing, saying they finally understand Spider-Man, and people saying they clearly don't understand Spider-Man. It's like, yeah, it's a 75-year-old character. There's 900 versions of this character. You're all gonna disagree. It's like people.
This is where I think the issue comes down to is that, and why I like all of the Spider-Man movies to a degree is that they all keep exactly the same theme that all Spider-Man stories, good Spider-Man stories, have, and the ones that falter are the ones that really stray away from this idea, which is like not just heroic sacrifice, but sacrifice.
Yes.
Like the best Spider-Man stories involve an actual sacrifice. There's no resurrection. There's no return. So Gwen Stacy dying, she stayed dead. When Spider-Man like literally died himself and became like Dr. Octopus literally took over the book for like 3 years and like, you know, he it was real sacrifice. Like they're just when he does this, he gives up everything. He gives up his good name. He gives up when in No Way Home. He's spoilers, but he gives up his entire memories of him. His entire life, his name, and everything. It's always about real sacrifice. So as long as they come to that, and that the power that you're given, doing the right thing is more important than even your recognition of it. That's Spider-Man. Batman can be a lot of things, but I would not right now like look to say anything except what you were alluding to, which is that he's a symbol, that he's a symbol for something better or a fear to out there, but it's always a little ambiguous to me what his central like mantra is.
Well, I feel
central
like that's
theme is.
that's
besides
sort
just
of
vengeance, and it kind of does come down to like, I'm a 13-year-old boy who lost my parents, and I'm angsty, and I want to get revenge, and I'm a millionaire, and I'm going to do what I want, and it does in this day and age start to feel really silly.
Well, that's sort of the DC versus Marvel problem, is that Marvel, in comics mostly, are just like, this is the core of the character. You can write whatever you want about him, but this is sort of the staple point. Pretty much, like, and these are two characters that me and Jeff go back and forth on. Maybe the worst written overall characters in DC are Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
like the ones that are the focal point of the whole thing, and they all have like their cool moments. It's just that
and that's a problem. You said it yourself. These characters are decades and decades old. Some of them are very close to 100 years old.
I think Superman's officially over 100.
When you've had a character for that long and so many different people writing for them, there's going to be so many different versions of the character that are trash, versions that are great, versions that speak to you, and versions that leave you completely abandoned, and that's fine.
That's why there's right now the best stories that are playing are the variations of Superman. The Homelanders, the
right, because that's a version we haven't seen yet.
So right, and they are ones that
unless
Superman
you don't count
done,
the Red Sun,
right? And well, that's what I'm saying is like there are.
Well, he's not really evil.
There are Elseworld stories of Superman.
I'm not going to go into
but
Superman.
even then, you have the alternate ones. The one, the totalitarian Superman. I mean, they did that in the '90s cartoon. You did totalitarian like Lex Luthor, like Superman. You did like Brainiac, Superman. Like I mean, they do have those stories. They just haven't done them in live action. And like now we're getting a detective Batman story that people have wanted, but you know what? I would have liked that in an interconnected universe, right? I would have liked him working with the police there, like I don't feel like this is the progression into like Ben Affleck's Batman. Like I don't think
they will
like
100% not like during Flashpoint when they're going to mix up the whole universe or whatever.
Is that what's coming?
Yeah. They're doing Flashpoint, and they're going to definitely mix it around so they can get rid of some actors and stuff like that.
Michael Keaton's already in it.
How old is Batman supposed to be in this movie?
In this movie, he's early 20s. Because he's been Batman for 2 years, and I believe he starts the Batman project when he's 24.
And in
25?
Flashpoint, Michael Keaton's also going to be 20.
Ah, right.
De-aging technology has been crazy.
No, they're not going to de-age him. They're just going to say he's 20.
I love that.
It's like that other weird movie that was a Broadway show that just came out where the kid's a high school student.
Dear Evan Hansen.
Jesus Christmas.
like this is where I say like
that's completely different.
I'm more ready for I say fuck Batman, not like Robin, but more like give me Terry McGinnis, kid. Like fuck Bruce Wayne. Give me Terry McGinnis. Give me Bruce Wayne, old Bruce Wayne. Give me Michael Keaton back.
You want Young Justice. You want
give me like 20 years in the future. Terry McGinnis as Batman Beyond, and you just have Michael Keaton play old Batman, and he literally looks like the curmudgeon Batman version of him. It's perfect. That's a Batman story I haven't seen that I really want to see. That you could just throw into anything. You could just make that your Batman now. Fuck it. Like that's your Justice League Batman.
Hopefully
like, why not?
Hopefully
that's
they'll see.
new. That's engaging. that's like, okay.
Robert Pattinson did not come off as a early 20 person, and the fact that you said that blows my mind. He's my age. He's 35. Again, this is not. If this didn't even, I didn't think he was supposed to be young in this.
You didn't?
This movie lost me literally on every angle. He's a 35-year-old man playing a 22-year-old.
20-something.
Come on, guys. There's no guy. What the Chalamet kid? You got to get something like that.
No.
You have to. There's no way this guy comes off as a 22-year-old.
To be fair, people already look at him and think that he's like the edgy teen of like. People thought he was too young when he got cast
as the young Batman. First
Yeah.
of all, this
No,
wasn't
and,
portrayed as
Dune.
young take me as the person who did not read any comics, see the animated series except for some of it, and I've only seen like every theatrical. I've seen every single Batman in theater. But this movie completely lost me on what it was supposed to do. Like, he was supposed to be in his early 20s.
Early to mid, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's around 25,
35
26,
years
like
old,
my
and
age.
Tom Holland is 22 playing an 18-year-old, so he's within 5 years, right?
But Tom Holland's too short.
No,
One of the best things about this Batman that I prefer over Christian Bale is that Robert Pattinson felt like a massive force when he was standing up against those clowns in the subway. Like the opening scene when he comes out of the tunnel and he's standing there, he seems like an imposing dude.
That's all fine, but that's not necessarily him. He's 6'1". I'm pretty confident that Christian Bale's taller than that. That's not the point. You can shoot anybody. They shoot Robert Downey Jr. like he's the same height as Doctor Strange.
Fair enough.
It's
fair enough.
They don't you can do that in any way. They shot like Tom Cruise played Jack Reacher, just the most ridiculous casting ever. But yeah, like I don't mind him.
I didn't know that he was supposed to be young. I did not even get that from this.
It was a strange.
Angsty, you need to look like you have pimple. Like, to me, you have to look like you're coming out of high school.
But
Does you think
you
he
don't,
looked like he was
though.
coming out of high school?
No, he's not supposed to be coming out of high school. He's supposed to be like 25.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like whatever. He's supposed to be like mid-20s. He's supposed to be like that young age of like just starting out, but like he's a little older.
Yeah.
He's not like Spider-Man teenager starting
Right.
out. He's like, you know, he's 20,
He's far enough
29.
into this that he
Like,
has the Batcave set up and he's got some gadgets and toys in the suit.
Listen,
Batman has to have like at least because he's not competent in this movie, but he has to have like an air of competency. And that's like the whole.
This is
thing
the whole
with their
thing
stuff.
is that if there's no interior logic set to the film, and it just kind of bloviates in different directions and doesn't and it has tone, and it has this very visceral tone that's like supposed to be. It reads real to me. It doesn't read fantastic. And then fantastic things happen. And it doesn't register the same way. It registers wrong. And that's what I was experiencing during the movie. It was a complete disconnect from what I'm experiencing. I'm like, that's a great visual. If this is a silent film and I'm just like assuming what's happening, maybe I can write on this movie. And I feel like that's what was happening to people. They just weren't listening to what was on the screen, and they were just like, this is pretty, this is cool, this is what I want to see, but not what I want to hear or be in. And I loved the look of the city. The city looked cool. I liked how they made it look really industrial, like New York, and it looked like Times Square. And I liked that they put the Batcave in the middle of the city, right? Like usually it's like away in like
He goes
like an
underneath a
off-suburb.
waterfall or something.
Yeah, it's like, but like now he's like in the city. Now, you know, fuck off. Right? If you think his Batcave is going to go undiscovered in the middle of a abandoned subway rail like section, like nope, like you're gonna have
Alfred just kills them.
you're gonna have urban explorers all over the place. But
Especially at that
Cool.
flood.
Alfred just hits him in the back of the head with a brick.
yeah.
So I will
Probably
say
did.
this much. I agree with like a good like 2/3 of what you guys are saying about the movie, and I don't know why I don't nearly hate it as much as you guys. Like I just didn't take offense to it. I guess I don't give a
I'm
shit
pretty
about
much the same way.
I don't give a shit about Batman, and there's a lot of like issues
I
I
give
had with this
slightly more
movie,
shit.
but
I guess I'm upset.
I just
because it's 3
enjoyed
hours.
the few positives I was able to pull out of a character that I fucking despise. So I guess it was just I'm just trying. I guess I'm an optimist, which is
For me, I'm
ironic
taking it as a
fuck.
big W that you liked this movie as a guy who hates Batman so much.
Yeah, I think they just
And
did.
I think Matt Reeves did a good job there.
I think they did a lot of perspectives of Batman that I just haven't seen in the other movies, which is the failures, the shit talking on the Wayne family, the sort of not making him out to be the greatest fucking hero in the world. Like, I don't know.
And he's not indestructible.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, like he is pretty indestructible in this movie, but he
Yeah.
isn't
He's got
indestructible.
plot armor, but it's clear that like he's not
Literal.
he's not impervious to
Yeah,
things.
I mean,
Like,
I would like to do, like the fight scenes, for example. They were not only so good, well choreographed because of the visual, but they like him.
He also gets the shit kicked out of
Yeah,
him.
like there's times where he's taking a beating.
Do you guys know what happens in Batman Returns? Okay, I'm talking Michael Keaton's second movie. Okay, you know what happens?
Yes.
Someone tries to take.
I'm
his
very
mask
intimate
off.
with Batman Returns.
Someone tries to take his cowl off, and he's shocked with an electric, like little shock. A 2-second
yeah.
scene that explained perfectly why anybody would have avoided taking it off at any point. Do a
They
little
do it in
bit
Dark
of
Knight, too,
internal
actually.
building. I don't need a lot.
Dark Knight has
you
the same
have
scene.
a thing where you have like gadgets, like you. This is. It could be part of your story.
I'm wondering-
You opted not to do it.
Maybe it's part of his story now because he's like, oh, people might try to take my cowl off. Maybe I'll have to shock it now.
Oh my God, how did he get there? Like,
Get a lot of leeway though by saying that.
it's just you need to tell some things. I feel like, and I'm listen. A lot of Batman fans really enjoy this movie, and I'm really happy that they enjoy a Batman movie because I feel like they've had their pick. They've had a lot. Like I look at my guy Spider-Man, right?
Mhm.
He's had great movies. He's had movies that were good at the time and have aged poorly in some senses. He's had some, fantastic films.
And your favorite is Amazing Spider-Man 2 because of the electric eels.
exactly.
Yeah, don't fucking talk shit on that movie.
he's had
Gwen
movies-
Stefani.
But
I'll rant.
I don't like.
I forgot you love the
do
Andrew
actually,
Garfield.
yeah.
But I don't sit there and go like I still haven't gotten my Batman movie. I never sit there and go I still haven't gotten my Spider-Man movie. No, I've gotten I've got every flavor
Right.
of Batman. I've gotten every you need another one. You need another there's a billion and one Spider-Man stories that they haven't told yet. Where's my Sinister Six story? I want all of them. They only had 5.
Well, they
in
all
this
got
movie.
canceled.
No, I don't like this. I want this specific thing of Batman. That's what it honestly feels like from some of the love of it. I'm like, you want this one thing that he has, and that's it. And you've had every other version. It's not like you haven't seen a seminal Batman movie, like this is Batman,
Which is why the
and it
next
feels
movie
weird
should be
with the
Booster
lush
Gold. Listen to me, DC.
of content
DC.
that Batman has had.
Should be what?
Booster Gold?
What?
Booster Gold is great. He's like the Johnny Cage of DC Comics.
Oh my God. No, we need Arms Fall Off Boy.
He's already in! We got him!
No, we
Where?
got the detachable kid. Different guy.
He is not.
Same powers, different guy.
Are
Not
you
a
talking about
different guy.
the child tax credit this year? The taxable kid?
Detachable.
Jesus.
Nathan Fillion's character from the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie, where his arms popped off and he could control them.
Which is the same character.
I like that
it's not
better.
a different. It's not a different character.
No, Cowboy
It's
Ninja Viking. We need Cowboy Ninja
Cowboy
Viking.
Ninja Viking. I'll agree with.
I would watch the fuck out of that. I don't know what that is, but you
I've
said
never
3
heard of
words
it.
I wanted to hear together.
That is a
A
character.
military experiment gone wrong combines the DNA of a cowboy, a ninja, and a Viking into one super soldier named Cowboy Ninja
I
Viking.
don't think that's it. I think it was somebody. I don't know. I think it was like.
I think you just described the Assassin's Creed
I
series.
thought it was like a
Jeff, do you
dissociative
think
identity
this
sort of
movie
thing.
had
I
to be
don't know.
3 hours?
Did it have to be? No. Did I like it? Yes.
Did Jeff want 3 hours of Batman? Yes.
I mean, yes.
Did you think Catwoman was a character worth this plot line? Like,
Was she a character?
was she a character? I swear to God, her acting in each scene, what they gave her and how they wrote her, she did the best she could with it.
She genuinely acted. Like I think
Zoe Kravitz
She
was
is
really good.
one of the few people,
Yeah.
other than the Italian Falcon dude, that I feel like
Falcone.
acted. That I feel like
The Jesus,
and
please.
what's his face?
Andy Serkis and Colin
He's the
Farrell.
Italian Falcon.
Italian Falcon. No. Chris, what? No.
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell, Falcon dude, and her were actually
Falcone.
acting.
Jesus Christ.
Falcon.
His name is Falcone.
He's the
All
guy.
of
He was
them
in
acted,
Transformers.
but her story was so sloppy, and she got so few minutes in a 3-hour goddamn movie to speak in, that there could have been any plot. Was that girl her roommate? She just worked with her. Why was she working there? To get closer to her father? But in reality, she hated all of that. I'm not sure until her friend went missing. She was already working there. So there was no reason. I did not understand.
Well, they do in the end say it's all supposed to be a heist to steal.
To Selena Kyle, yeah.
Also, I like
it's
the
a
part
heist
where
to
she was
steal,
like so emotional, and Batman had to like take her off him and like shake her into shape. Like, don't lose control, Missy. And like that was like the big. That was her denouement to her character. She lost control and almost killed him, and Batman, stopped her. Like it was just like that was.
I actually really
extent
wanted
of
her to
any
kill
female
him.
characterization in the movie.
Oh yeah, stopping her from getting her vengeance so that it could be like it sold her short.
He stopped her from crossing the line and killing somebody.
Which he
was okay with.
arbitrarily decided is a rule.
That's what he decided was good for her. That's neat. I'm super excited about that.
It's literally just one man invoking his will in a way that like Iron Man is not. He is often like doing things within his power that he may arguably like legally say he could do because it's like it's my technology. I do this, whatever. But like that's I think different than saying like I'm going to make a mission to do and change this play. Like that is some fucked up shit. And the more that I see, the more that I dwell on that issue in a Batman story, the more I'm like, Batman, like he's not like in no real world is this a good person. Like
No,
there's
he's never been a good person.
So you can't focus your story there. I think they did it the best way they could in the Nolan series, and I don't think I think you want to go in the direction of Batfleck and what they were doing is tell these Justice League stories, tell these interconnected stories. Like I want to see.
You need to have him look up at Superman and go, "I don't not like you." That's what you need.
I do want to
Do
see
you
the
bleed?
interactions. Yeah.
I just really like I don't not like you as if they're gonna like as he's touching his fingers together and blushing. He's gonna kiss Superman.
Well, let me put it this way. You know what I want to see?
Clark
I want to
Senpai.
see Batman. Like fuck the Justice League. Go straight to like Batman kills the Justice League. Like, isn't that one of the storylines?
Do that and then immediately do Flashpoint. Just so
Like,
you just we don't fucking care about it.
We've seen all the others.
Well, there's talks about Deadpool
What?
doing the Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe to
Clayface, have him take on a supernatural threat. Like I like give like one of his. I've seen all the crazy maniacs. I don't need any more. There's no more crazy maniacs. Like no more Riddlers, no more Strokers, no more like just crazy maniac who has like a vendetta against. Like how about a Clayface? How about a I know we've done Ra's al Ghul.
Raish.
They've done it. They've done them
what about
all.
like the Man Bat?
They've done them already, but they could still do Freeze. I know he's not supernatural, but he's super
closer, but he's a little bit of like he's at least a
He's a very sympathetic villain too. He's my
villain.
favorite.
which they should have done years ago and cast Patrick Stewart as him. In the heyday, they could have cast when they did Arnold Schwarzenegger. They could have cast Patrick Stewart.
Now they do Vin Diesel because he cares about family.
There was there's a take
cool
on
Batman.
I froze my dog so he's still alive.
there's a take that
I really made a difference.
they did of Mr. Freeze that Gerard Way wrote, but he never got picked up by Vertigo. But he had the way that Mr. Freeze was mourning his wife's death is that he made the Mr. Freeze suit in the sculpture of his wife, and he would wear that as like a sort of mourning thing.
Gerard Way did that?
Gerard Way wrote that. He wrote that, and then he had Robin as like a Victorian cop. Batman was like 15 years old. It was like really fucking abstract. I was like super kind of into reading it, but then he got
The same
canceled.
Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance.
Yes, who also wrote the Umbrella
The
Academy.
Umbrella Academy.
Interesting.
He's a comic
He's a big
writer.
comic guy.
You know his name, and you don't know a thing about
Because I
music.
tried to watch Umbrella Academy.
Do you know why?
So get into it.
Because this
Really?
is the
I
way.
love it.
I might try
The
again.
Gerard
I didn't
way.
dislike it.
This is the Gerard way.
They actually reread the series so that Ellen Page's character is non-binary.
Cool.
Yeah, but what are they going to... I don't know what they're going to do next season. Anyway,
Troy, do you have any closing remarks about the Batman? Anything that we have not discussed into the ground?
I will try to say I did fully like it. I tried my best to try to teeter it out, and I don't feel like I did a good enough job. I do think it was visually really interesting. I did like most of the characters. I think Batman was my least favorite of the characters.
But that's always been, just to bring it back again, that's always been the Batman thing in the comics, is that Nightwing is always my favorite, and I know a good friend of mine who likes Batman, Batgirl, is their favorite.
I just don't know if Batman... I don't know that he... I think I might like most of the Batman more than him, specifically. I really loved Colin Farrell's Penguin. I thought that he was, like, wacky enough without being, like, Marvel level of jokes in it.
Yeah.
Because there's not really a joke in the movie. I liked Alfred. I think I needed a little bit more, one more scene of something of them like getting
loved
along.
How antagonistic Bruce was with Alfred, because that is exactly their relationship in year one.
I think I just need one more scene of them getting along, though, where when you think he's gonna be blown up, that you're like, oh shit. I needed one more scene where they were buddy about
They had
something.
3 hours. They had 3 hours, guys, to build these
Listen though. This is the thing though. When they made 3-hour movies in the past, like something like Batman vs Superman's like 2.5, 240, that movie, they're like, and now there's an extended edition, and I was like, I don't care. Please don't give me this. I'd maybe watch an extended version of this.
Yeah, it's Snyder's Justice League 4-hour-long cut. I would watch a 4-hour-long cut of the Batman if
I would watch this 4-hour-long way before I watch Zack Snyder's Justice League.
For sure.
Really, really high bar there, guys.
John, closing remarks?
Yeah, I think my overall concept was that I enjoyed it for a lot of things that I wasn't expecting. Like one of my favorite visual movies in a while. I don't mean, like, I can't talk good on any of the character. I don't care about Batman, never did. So
fine.
I don't give a single fuck. But I hated him, and they made me hate him, so good job. But the movie was enjoyable. I enjoyed hating him in this movie. They were the other ones that you tried to make me like him, and I didn't like him. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe it's because this movie made me hate him the entire time, and I loved that, whereas every other movie was like, you gotta like Batman, you're a Batman fan. I'm like, fuck
Sounds
Batman.
Like he's really making a difference.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that's what it was.
Are you gonna ask me if
I wasn't going to know on purpose.
So no. So if you want my final thoughts,
Sure.
maybe.
You're part of this, too.
I do want to say. I do want to say.
Does the outro.
That it is this has nice.
I'm kidding.
Some of the most beautiful imagery in any Batman film. And it doesn't ever utilize the pearls, the dropping to do so.
Yeah, that makes it bad.
I wish the imagery that is so beautiful in this movie had any meaning behind it, had any significance, had like when I see him like leading the people in that red flare out of like the water, like I wish that had visual significance. Like I wish that meant something or like showed like. It was directionless. It was just a cool shot that I literally felt bad of in the moment because I'm just like, what a wait, like, what's happening? What is this? Show me? And it's just cool black and red. Like that's what it was.
Well,
and it felt like
he's a hero now. He needs to be more than Vengeance, and he's leading these people as a hero instead of being an agent of Vengeance.
They were totally resonant in no way. Of that, like there was no message of that they were expelling through the movie. There was no theme of it. If he even arrives ever at the end of that at any given point, it is not a thematic message in any type of way. It is not a message that they sell through any means of storytelling narrative, and that's what was lost, and that's what didn't register with me. Perhaps that is not always necessary for an audience.
Perhaps.
Yeah, for this to take place in modern times and to have
Also, for the record, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. According to Matt Reeves, the script was finalized about a year or two before January 6th was even like a thing that happened.
Really? Oh, that's super interesting.
It was completely before any of that happened, and then after it happened, he had a serious sit down with the writers, and they were like, "Do we cut this? It's kind of important to the plot, and it's different enough that I don't think we would be in poor taste for leaving it. So I think we're
It's
gonna."
my
leave
favorite
it.
part of the movie, so I'm really glad they didn't cut it.
Yeah,
I think
it's good.
that is the part that held me to what was realistic about how a lunatic can get people
his
to do
part of the
things.
that part of the movie wasn't like Batman and Jim Gordon are sitting in the corner together, like you know sometimes people do recollections. Like it's not like it didn't say anything bad about it. It was like
Make
shitting
Gotham great
It
again.
was shitting on the people who were bad in that
No,
situation.
I think that was the most sincere part of the movie and realistic part of the movie was seeing white men latch on to lunacy and think that they are a hero in any way, shape, or form because they have a gun.
And they were trying to
100%.
assassinate the minority mayor that just got elected.
A black woman is going to lead us. There's no way. The guys like, and I thought I wish I knew her name, but the mayor, I don't know her as
Rial.
an actor.
Oh, the actress? Oh, the character's name was Rial.
Her acting was great. Zoe's
wasn't a
Kravitz.
female in the movie.
Yeah, those were the two females in the movie, and that was neat. And I don't need to harp on females. There was just a lack of. I wish this could have been better.
Jamie Lawson.
Jamie Lawson
Bella
did
Rial.
a great job. I mean, if you're gonna go all out and out and make it 3 hours, you could have developed it and made me feel more.
How important was the DA and some of the other higher ups, the other big cop guy and the other chief guy who talked like a balloon, like are all, because you even said like the one guy with the mustache is also a character. Like, are all of them characters in the comics?
Yes.
Every single one.
Yes.
So they couldn't gender bend a single one of them.
I mean, maybe they could have.
I'm just saying, like,
I mean, they made Gordon black.
it was all in.
I don't know. That's
I
not
honestly
quite...
didn't even read him as black. He was just Jim Gordon. Like,
Yeah,
it was
that's
really,
what they were going for.
So whatever, but like I'm just saying, like, yeah, it was pretty devoid of any female characters, and you could have, like, I didn't feel like nearly all of these characters need to be male, and you I don't know. I think you just have it just is the same. It was just odd, and I think that they lost some opportunities to do some neat things, but people really like it, and I hope that. I hope it gets a sequel and does something different, because I think that there's a lot of talent in there. So go with what you got, and if they're trying to work,
It's
a formula
definitely
for the
getting a
future,
sequel,
Yeah,
for the
I'm
record.
sure.
I'm pretty sure Matt Reeves already
That's
got the
another
green
thing
light.
I was super happy about. Once again, a movie that I walked into the movie theater and it was packed, and not that I love walking into packed movie theaters nowadays, but I do love seeing a
It brought
packed
people
movie
out.
theater.
It brought people out, right?
Yeah.
And that is exactly what a movie should do, right? So people are excited about it.
Speaking of, now that we're done with our Batman review, I can do some off-topic stuff. Did you guys see the streaming and DVD releases for No Way Home got pushed back to the end of this year? Because it is still packing out theaters to this day,
Damn.
and Disney just wants to keep making that money, so they're pushing the home releases back.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know. How long has it been in the theater? When did that release?
It came out in December, right before Christmas.
Back in my day,
It's been...
movies used to be in the theater for 6 months. Am I wrong?
Jesus Christ. I don't think it's been 6 months. Was that ever a thing?
The transition from theater to VHS was insane.
Yeah, the movies used to be in the theater until they went to the Dollar Theater in Morrisville, and there was a golden retriever there. And if anyone's listening that remembers that golden retriever, it was a great dog to pet. I'm just saying. It sat outside. The owner of the Morrisville Dollar Movie Theater had a golden retriever for 8 years that sat outside, and you just pet him on the way in. That's where I saw Batman Return. That's where I saw almost all the Batman movies. Just to go back into this. Movies used to be out for 4 to 6 months regularly. Like the summer blockbuster Toy Story was out. How long was Toy Story in the theater for?
Jesus Christ. It was in the theater for a long time.
Yeah, but that was every movie. That was 94, and I'm talking about 90
95.
and 91. Jesus. I was almost double digits.
Now here's the important question. There's one final question about the movie, and then I think we owe it to Jeff to do.
Divided by 4. That it was in the movie for 6 months. It was in the movie for 6 months. Toy Story. They used all movies that made a lot of money used to be in the theater for 6 months. That was standard from I guess mid '90s before. I don't know. Jesus, it was 9 months in the theater.
That's ridiculous.
And it's funny because I remember specifically when DVDs came out that me and my sister were like so excited because it would come out so much quicker because we get to watch it at home because we were able to go to the theater to see something. So like this concept makes sense because it's like, oh, why did it take so long for me to get a home version of this movie? Well, it's because it was still fucking running in theaters for.
You're right. I never thought about it till this second, Jeff. This is a great point to even bring up because were DVDs quicker to make just because
Nowadays movies typically run for about 4 weeks.
Wow, we're talking a sixth of the time that any blockbuster, any major movie was running.
Yeah, nowadays there's about a 45-day hold on digital release.
Movies will run for about 4 weeks in like massively, and then it'll scale back until the home release.
Like right now, you can go to our local and see No Way Home.
Yeah, you can. And I was talking to a girl that works at a movie theater near my place of employment. They're still filling theaters for No Way Home. Like they're still like selling out the theater for No Way Home. That's absolutely insane to me.
So that's
someone
shows...
from your POP said that?
What's that?
Someone from your POP said that? Your place of employment?
Place of employment?
POE?
POE?
POE. Your PO. Your place of employment? Did you just say
no,
PO?
you know the movie theater at the mall near my store that I work at?
Is that your PO?
In Oxford Valley. Yes.
Is that your PO?
Sure. Whatever joke you're trying to make, sure.
PO.
She said they're still selling full theaters for No Way Home.
Oscar Isaac. Anyway.
Cinnamon D.
What?
Anyway.
She thinks I...
Anyway, I
looks
just
like
just wanted to
cinnamon.
point out that Disney pushed back the home release of Spider-Man because it's still doing well
I
in
got
theaters.
it now.
So I have one final question, and then I think justifiably we did a round table of everybody's thoughts. We should let Jeff gush about it after
Who is Gamora?
we pooped on it. You pooped on it. Me and John
I have pooped on it.
leveled back and forth.
I pooped on it, but then brushed it off.
We both
So
have pooped.
all three of you kind of pooped on it, but D was more of like a stinky diarrhea shit, and the two of you had like
We
little...
had criticisms.
And much like the movie, Jeff did acknowledge the female character.
No, because you weren't invited.
Much like the female actresses to this film.
But my main question.
There was the mayor, there was Catwoman, and then there was all the whores that worked in the club.
Jesus.
There were plenty of
Jeff,
female
this is when you
characters.
stop
in this movie.
talking.
But here's my
This is not
question: would this movie have been improved by a Jim Carrey?
No.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Maybe a James Carrey.
Oh, look at that!
Jimothy.
John's mic just got muted. So,
Carrey's awesome.
so hot take. I did not like Jim Carrey's Riddler at all.
Why?
And
Hot take.
I do not like him very much as an actor.
No, you're wrong. I'm sorry.
You can say that all you want. I think that he has one character and he plays it well. Just like Johnny
That
Depp
is
has one
correct.
character and he plays
That
it well.
doesn't
Johnny
make
Depp's
him
not
bad.
I
No,
hate
I
Johnny
don't-
Depp. He's
I
That
don't
makes him a
think-
character actor.
You've seen his real
I-
serious roles. They're like really good.
Definitely
Matt,
agree with you. Jim Carrey is not a good actor.
Jim Carrey does one thing really well.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, motherfuckers.
His normal guy is like, hey, how are we gonna do this? Right? It's just
Why John Travolta
it's
over there?
just like it's not great acting. Like, don't get me wrong. I can't.
No, it's slapstick.
He's a
I
fine
couldn't
Ace
do better.
Ventura. I'll
He
give
is-
you that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see him do basically anything else ever, except Dr.
Tell me
Eggman.
how much you love Batman in this movie.
Oh my God, this was so fucking good, you guys! Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, this was
Why-
like this. Oh God, this was
What's
such
your
a good
favorite
movie.
part? What's the favorite image? What's the best part?
Honestly, since
Yeah.
since I saw it the last time with you guys, I have had the first song of the soundtrack on repeat on my Spotify of like the no, from the soundtrack. The opening where it's like the slow build to the dramatic like entrance into the subway where he's like walking out of the shadows, then he beats up those thugs on the subway platform.
yeah.
That big elaborate piece of music. It's called Halloween City Fight or something like that. It's a great piece of music, absolutely wonderful. I think that might be my favorite individual scene in the whole movie is just his fucking emergence from the shadow. Just slow walking and you hear the footsteps and then you see him show up.
I didn't
And
like
he just,
that.
beats the fucking
Movie
shit out
movie
of
still
that.
had me at that point.
Kind of has like Darth Vader hallway vibes from Rogue
Oh yeah.
One.
Why did you have to invoke the worst Star Wars movie ever?
I'm not talking about this right now.
Because he doesn't have
It's-
to be a
it's-
fucking
this
Jedi.
has been
It's a
in
force of
95
show.
conversations on the podcast, John. It's
This movie played out exactly like a comic book where Batman's trying to unravel the Riddler mystery, but he gets wrapped up in having to deal with other smaller villains along the way, and each one of them has a small part to play in the Riddler plot as well. Or even in the case of Penguin, it's like, I'm chasing you down because I think you're a lead, but you're not, and now we're going to go away. And
You just like it because it's Dark Knight. You just want to play Dark Knight again.
Arkham City?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Or
literally what
Arkham
it is.
City, sorry.
I just want to replay Arkham City or Arkham Knight, and this
Damn
plays
these
like
side
that.
quests.
Yeah, but that's kind of all the Batman comics, and it takes about as long to watch the movie as it does to read a Batman, not like a comic bus from like beginning to end. And
The beginning
go through an
fight
arc.
does give like the Arkham vibes of like
Yeah.
the fights, like at the fights in the game.
And just the cinematography of the hallway scene where it's only lit by the muzzle flashes of the gun, and he's beating up all the thugs on his way in to go confront Falcone and Selena Kyle. It was absolutely incredible. I was glued to my seat the entire time. All the times where you guys hated it because it was a waste of time, I felt it was building suspense, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Especially where he's convinced Riddler knows who he is, and then he doesn't, and then he freaks out banging on the glass, and then shows his teeth, which you hated so much because you just fucking hate his teeth for some
I
reason.
just think he's a billionaire and he would just have caps or implants.
No,
at that
he
time.
wouldn't, because Bruce Wayne doesn't care. He only cares
Bruce
about being
Wayne, the
Batman.
8-year-old Bruce Wayne still had his mama.
No, he
Like,
didn't.
What? When? How old was he when?
6.
Oh, was he really 6?
I believe he was 6 when they were killed. Yes, he was very small.
I mean, I still am upset that he didn't even lift a finger to help.
Just fucking do a backflip and kick the guy in the head. Well, I mean, we never know because we didn't see the scene. I mean, they kept talking about his dead parents, and I had no idea.
No
where they-
no wonder his parents took the easy way out.
You know what's funny?
Oh no!
Whatever. You bring it up. Actually, you know what's funny? D was talking about how the lack of female characters. We saw Martha Wayne for maybe 10 seconds,
Ooh.
and we saw Thomas.
And he
a
kept
lot.
talking about his dad. That's another thing.
And what did they say about her? She's crazy.
Yeah. It also revealed though that Martha is an Arkham, which you didn't know, and
I didn't know that
Yeah,
either.
no, I didn't
You
know
didn't
she
know that
was.
either. She's an Arkham, and she married into the Wayne family, and the Waynes and Arkhams were like the
But
first
then,
families that settled Gotham.
that was cool until I realized that her name was Martha Arkham. It's
Arkham.
Martha Arkham. See?
You can just hear them saying that in like a 1930s radio broadcaster voice.
Thomas Wayne is married to Martha Arkham.
Yeah, it's just,
Martha Wayne
it's
now.
just if they wrote the script in a certain way, they could have saved Martha. Like, I think that they just really needed to save Martha. Like, save Martha.
Why'd you say that name?
name?
I just really think that they needed to save Martha.
Also, just last thing, and this isn't even about Pattinson. This is about Batfleck. Can we just highlight those movies were terrible, but Ben Affleck was a good Batman?
yeah, I
Okay.
thought.
Yes.
And I
That's
think you direct a great Batman movie. I don't understand why they bailed on that. Did he bail on that?
Yeah,
I think it was sort of a mutual bailing.
He was so burned out on Batman after Snyder
Jennifer
killed it
Lopez
for
came
him.
back on the scene and he didn't see nothing else.
Yeah, Snyder burned him out on Batman, and he was like, "Fuck it, I'm done. I'm not doing this again." Even though he's absolutely perfect for the role, and as a director, he's good. He would have done a great job. But yeah, this was a really good movie. I've seen it twice. I'm gonna see it another 2 or 3 times at least, and I'm very excited to see it again and again and again.
Oh, I'm glad you finally have your.
Also, the Batmobile, guys, it looks so fucking good. My biggest complaint with Keaton's Batmobile, and I'm bringing this to Keaton because he's your guys' Batman.
I think that Keaton's Batmobile's
Tell me a Tim Burton
flawless,
movie?
please.
Keaton's Batmobile looks good, but it needs a fucking grappling hook to pull a tight corner.
Yeah,
And it's such a long car.
It's beat. It is.
So that's because the
it's,
movie is like sort of in
It's
its
like
own
a Cadillac.
comic-y- It's
All
Tim
cars
Burton.
were longer then. So in the scene, it's not.
No, it's not. She's not wrong.
No, in 1991. What was the average length of a car in 1991?
It is. But what's so funny is that the Batman animated series really mimics that. The original really mimics that car. It's just like a super fucking catty length. Just
Right.
full. It's all front. Like
Yeah, it's 3 cars
There's no
long.
way it could take a corner without a grappling hook.
Right.
So like at least that was logistics in the movie. It was
I would love to see Michael Keaton make a turn too wide and then have to like kind of like K-turn out of the to try to chase down
that
the
would
Joker.
be good. That would be
Fuck,
good.
fuck,
tight,
fuck.
tight Gotham alleyway.
I've seen that movie. Hey.
Tight Gatham. Yeah.
Thank you for making the same
Ooh,
joke.
Tight
Mrs. D.
Gatham Alley.
And also, Jeff, thank some people.
Yeah. That's the end. I'm not gonna gush over the Batman anymore, but it was my favorite fucking comic book movie ever, which was a title previously held by Spider-Man 2, starring Tobey Maguire. So, props to you, the Batman. You've dethroned Tobey. Yeah, I know. Every time I say more about my life, I feel like you just hate me more as a human being.
Yeah, see, now
Spider-Man 2,
now you know where
starring
I'm
Tobey
at.
Maguire, was literally my favorite comic book movie of all time until this movie came out.
Now you know where I'm at with him.
I was also I was like 12, 13 when that movie came out. It was like... and I saw
Oh,
it
so
as
you
a
had
kid.
poor taste that you brought into your adult life.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Thank
like me some
you
Spider-Man
all
too,
for
so I can't
listening to
even-
this episode of the podcast. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a kind review, like and subscribe on YouTube, and all that good stuff. And thanks to my co-host, Troy Brittingham.
I am now mid-evening.
Thank you to special guest, John Fitzwater.
Don't you backsass me.
Thank you, Dee.
You're welcome. And I'm sorry.
Thanks to Dee's wife, who's here, I guess.
Wow.
Neat.
On National Women's Day. I acknowledged you at least.
I feel like this was really a rumble between the two of you. Can you guys just kind of give each other like a hug real quick to make sure that I know that we're all still friends here?
There's too many
I'll
wires
allow it.
involved.
I'll allow it.
I have the worst swamp dance right now.
Just like a crisp high five.
Crispy.
See you next time. Bye.
You don't think Guardians of the Galaxy is a better fucking movie than any of them? Literally anything.
I really make a difference.